Happy Sunday, everybody. We're back with more #RisingQs, where we answer your questions. I think Ryan has the first one for us.
This one comes from Carl David O. He asked, what do you think a Nancy Pelosi presidency would be like? Well, I mean, the way we would find out would be if there was some tragedy and instant.
Don't give people ideas,
she's third in line.
Maybe some horrific disease that disproportionately kills the elderly. No.
But Kamala's not that.
Ryan's
right.
we could find out. We just have to somehow get rid of Biden and Harris, and then we can find out.
We would find out between now and January when she'll be deposed by, I think, Kevin McCarthy. Right. So it could be a Kevin McCarthy presidency if tragedy struck.
Oh my gosh.
A Nancy Pelosi, it would be wild because, I mean, I don't know how many press conferences she would have, but her press conferences always yield something wild where you're like, what did she just say? Yeah. Did she just say what I think she said? She doesn't care, it seems like sometimes, what the reaction is going to be to what she says.
I mean, all she cares about is ruthlessly wielding political power
within the House.
Yeah, right. Keeping herself on top. I don't know what policies drive her. It's hard to imagine. We don't really know.
Kids stuff. That's her big thing.
Kids stuff. Yeah. What is her soul, to the extent she has one, actually prescribed
for the children?
Focus on?
For the children.
For the children stuff.
I don't know. I think she just says that, Ryan. I don't know if I believe her, but I do think that a Nancy Pelosi presidency would be it would be a media firestorm for sure. Especially, Fox News's ratings would go through the roof. There would be that, right? Because it would be sort of like a Trump. For them, for what Trump did for CNN, Nancy Pelosi would do for Fox. But I also think that she would get teased a lot, having Biden moments, even though she doesn't really. She's not, she's really sharp. She's really with it. But I think she does say things that make people go, wow.
She's in the fray. She's a good combatant in the fray.
It feels wrong, though, that she would be able to serve out the entire term. Our set calendar of elections feels wrong in that case.
What do you mean?
There should be an election 6 months later, because nobody would have elected her.
You can't have a presidential election at a random day.
Yes, you can. Every other country does that, and in fact, it's so much better because then the election only lasts for 2 months. Our elections go for 4 years.
I think that.
And debating the things that none of them are going to do.
Yeah. No, she just gets to be the president then.
No, she would get to serve out the whole term. Yeah.
Let's go to the next question. I don't know if we really want to envision a Nancy Pelosi presidency any longer here. So Tony Lowe asked, how could we reimagine campaign financing and what could be a path to meaningful change? I would get rid of all donations except small dollar individual donations. Just say that's it. That's the only way you could fundraise. You can't get any corporate money. You can't get any PAC money. Can't get anything other than small dollar individual voter donation. That's it.
Yeah, the question would be, are we rethinking this in terms of a constitutional amendment and dealing with the Supreme Court? Because if you don't, what you're saying the court would immediately just toss it out. And so the way that you could counteract that would be through matching funds. And there was a bill last year that would have done these 6 times matching funds. So in other words, if you give $100 to a candidate, it would be matched $500, and I liked how they paid for it. It was paid for by fines on corporations that were caught, breaking the law. And so what that does is says, okay, we don't know how to completely ban capital influence on the political system because it's going to find some way to manipulate its way. Even if you amend the Constitution, they figure out some way to stack the Supreme Court. Supreme Court enables it. But if you say that regular people can have their contributions matched by a significant amount, then politicians are encouraged to go to regular people and say, tell me what you want.
They wouldn't need match. The reason why politicians need so much money is because advertisement costs so much. Yeah. So they wouldn't need matching donations if we forced media companies to lower the amount of money they charge for a political ad. So right now, news media makes a fortune off of political advertisements. And so we've got to maybe change that and say you have to run, this is public service announcements essentially.
Yeah,
we'll lead the way. We'll start giving free ads out.
I'm going to be out of sync with both of you on this one, obviously. I'm very concerned about more regulation in this category. I do think to some extent I agree with the Supreme Court that how money is an expression of your speech, and there are First Amendment implications for putting limits on the kind of spending one can do on their preferred candidate or to advertise for their preferred candidate. I'm also not convinced at the end of the day. And also when you structure it, then somehow the political insiders find out how to game it. So like the more rules you add up in this category, it doesn't seem to have the effect that people want. Like, oh, now we're going to get money out of the game. No, you just actually make even the smartest, best connected people figure out how to get around it. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure it matters that much. Yes, we would want like the people to be influenced, just ordinary little folks more than corporations. But how much effect does it have on like the whole shebang? I don't know.
I think a ton. I think money buys a lot.
Yeah, and if you look at our politics,
I don't think it does. I think the politicians do whatever, and then they attract support and money from people who like what they're doing, but. It's not like, oh, I'm giving you all this money and now I like control you politically speaking.
Well, one way to look at it though is in Europe, corporate contributions and big money contributions are significantly restricted relative to us. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we have much more pro-corporate friendly policies over here than Europe does. When Europe wanted to crack down on big tech, they just cracked down on big tech.
I mean, we have a Bill of Rights that limits what our government
right. That's why I'm saying. So then you counterbalance it.
Well, that might be fine.
All right.
And if
We've
people
got one more, right?
Yeah, one more. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Robbie's got this one.
Last but not least, Alan Nolan asked us to name 3 politicians on the national stage who, even if we might not agree with them politically, we respect and admire. We got a version of this question a couple weeks ago. We really struggled with it. Okay, here are I have 2. So Jared Polis and Doug Ducey. This is the governor of Colorado, governor of New York, Arizona. These are 2 political figures, Republican and Democrat, that I like. I follow their policy. I've actually met Jared Polis now. He's the most like normal Democrat there is, totally over COVID, doesn't want to enforce COVID nonsense, just very normal stuff, not like divisive on cultural issues. Would be a great actual leader of the National Democratic Party if he had any aspiration to do so. Maybe he's too normal. He's not charismatic enough because he's not like crazy enough. And Doug Ducey, who's the governor of Arizona, who didn't do what Trump wanted vis-a-vis the election stuff, and just supports general small government, school choice type things that I like, and like that's fine. You don't have to be a culture warrior on everything. In fact, please don't.
What do you think, Kim?
Well, my 3 are all members of Congress, and I chose 3 people that I really like, people who are willing to stand up and go against the grain, and even if it means they're going to be very unpopular for it, they still do it because it's what they believe in. So Barbara Lee, I still very much respect her for standing up against the Iraq War, so I got to give her major props, being the lone member of Congress there on that. Thomas Massey. I also, I admire him. He stands up. He doesn't care. He was willing to block the coronavirus package, trying to get everybody on the record. And he doesn't care if it makes him unpopular. He says and does what he wants, what he believes in. And then Bernie Sanders, of course, who for many, many years has been an out and proud socialist and independent, going against the grain in Congress, not caring and just saying what he thinks and what he wants. So those are my 3.
And this is a tough question apparently for some of our audience too, because they missed the whether or not you agree with them politically part. When we did this last time, I mentioned Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid as 2 people who I don't agree with on where they're trying to take things, but just as parliamentarians, as tacticians, we're just very good at kind of working the game. And I had a surprising number of people freak out at me in my DMs and how dare you say something positive about McConnell or Harry Reid?
That's total. I would expect that if because you've got a lot of people I think that probably follow you who are in that world of how dare you platform, like when Bernie went on Joe Rogan or Bernie went on Fox News, it's that same core group of people who are like, how dare they? So yeah, Ryan, how dare you say anything nice about Mitch McConnell of all people?
I know. Also, though, sometimes Mitch McConnell gets overrated, and so I don't want to play into that. He's good, but he's not as good as he thinks he is.
Well, we're about to find out if he's as good as he thinks he is, because the battle between McConnell and Trump is just getting more and more.
That's true.
It's going to come to some conflict.
And so, one person I would throw in there is Jeff Merkley, who's a senator from Oregon, who has been kind of leading the effort to reform the filibuster and to reform election laws. And I think he's the kind of person that could sit down, I think, with any kind of any right-winger, centrist, left-winger, and explain to them where he's coming from, and they would walk away being like, that guy's legit. He's talking to me honestly about, and he wants the right things for this country.
And who was that one? Ed Markey or
Jeff Merkley?
Jeff Markey, someone else.
Okay.
Jeff Merkley.
Yeah,
one of the.
He's probably also doing the
Ed
same
Markey
sort of
was
thing.
kind of
though.
old establishment guy who then
And he's pretty progressive.
pivoted.
I mean, he
pivoted to ride the Sunrise and Justice Democrats momentum. Which is,
and
if you're going to wage a revolution, that's
Kennedy.
what you want. You need converts. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that does it for us, right? Are we finished here?
Yeah.
Thanks for your questions.
Thank you,
Keep
everybody.
sending them in. You can ask us on Twitter. Just make sure you put that hashtag RisingQs. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
More questions about why Ryan looks like an accountant.
I know that.
Oh, yeah. Those are the good
Wore my Paisley accountant tie today.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.